the ball singing, but it was a good turnout. And I think this Thursday coming up, we have another one. So bring your blankets, lawn chairs, or whatever. And also, I guess I could address this to Wyatt. I noticed I've been I went by the pool over there here. I think it, the outside probably needs some attendance, you know what I mean?
Yes, Karen.
Yes. All right, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Commissioner?
That's it.
All right. I would like to take a minute to, and I'm glad that there's a couple of young ladies here who will kind of give us an update on this weekend's Oktoberfest. I think they did a wonderful job in preparing this for the first time. And so please give us an update. I really appreciate the hard work that all of y'all put in for this. If you would identify yourselves and give us.
Evelyn Holguin, Executive Director for the Lovington EDC.
Mara Salcido, Executive Director for Lovington Main Street.
I want to apologize first thing for the attire. Today was cleaning day for us. We had to put up tables, clean. It was not a good deal.
Okay.
Not a good deal.
Okay.
So that's what we've been doing all day today. But just to give you an update of our event on Saturday, it went really well. Thank you to Mr. Paul for being one of our food judges.
My pleasure.
He really didn't want to do it, but we just pressure.
You said pozole, I was there.
We had 5 contestants, very well attended. It was freezing. Folks actually went back to their vehicle, stayed in there, warmed up for about an hour, then came back for the last band. The last band was full. Dance floor was full.
I kind of figured.
It was very well attended. The cornhole took about 8 hours.
That's what I heard.
So it took forever.
We actually had participants that are huge golfers, and they missed out on the golf tournament to come play cornhole.
Oh, no kidding.
So I was like, but yeah, and they were ready to go.
7 brewers. We had 7 entries for home brewing.
Oh, very good.
A lot of 15 food vendors.
Sorry. And Andres actually ended up awarding 2
winners
instead of just 1 because he couldn't pick between the 2 beers that he loved. So he said that they were both welcome to come out to Drylands and brew on his actual equipment and be featured there on tap. So that's really exciting for him. We had about 15 vendors is what we came
15
up.
food vendors. We had a mechanical bull. We had a jumpy house.
And they had insurance.
They did. We're good. Our pumpkin painting session, we had a ton of little kids. We had over 50 pumpkins, and they were all gone. I think that's it. I also want to give a shout out. It was great. I called Wyatt at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, and was kind of in a panic mode, but he took care of it very quickly, told me to calm down with exclamation points, and sent his guys out there. Street department was on par. They closed up the street. It was actually, our permitting was put the wrong time. We actually needed to close the streets at 7 instead of 9 a.m. My stage people called and says, are we supposed to dodge traffic while we put it on? I said, let me call some folks. Wyatt took care of it.
Good.
Bernardo was there, him and his guys. I mean, anything we needed, they came back. Never complained. Never complained about anything.
Dennis also came out and dropped off more trash bags because we ran out about halfway through, and he came out. This water sewage department did. They also brought their shop back and got rid of some water for us. Everyone, police department, we actually had a couple of your guys lifting and carrying tables for us.
We put them to work very quickly.
Yeah, and nobody complained, nobody said anything. Everyone was super helpful, so we really appreciate every one of you guys.
Bernardo came back at 1 o'clock in the morning. He came back with the forklift. The sound guys, their speakers are way heavy duty, very large, need to be picked up with forklifts.
Yeah, I could hear them at my house. So.
Yeah, so it was 1 o'clock in the morning when they were taking the speakers down.
Oh, that was great.
We left the site about 2:30. I left the site at 2:30 in the morning after everything was cleaned up and all that stuff in the morning. But have nothing bad to say about the street department and Dennis and their crew, police department. Everyone was on point that day and no complaints. It ran smoothly. We had one lady that passed out, but it had nothing to do with our event. She didn't eat in 2 days, so she passed out. But it had nothing to do with us. It was just she wasn't feeling well.
Okay.
But other than that, no fights, no issues, no nothing. Everything was
We
great.
should have made her a judge if we would have known that.
Well, if I knew she was hungry, I would have given her tacos before they picked her up. But she wasn't having it.
I want to thank you guys for all the hard work that you guys put in and the time that you put in. And also, Melinda Medellin did a lot of work for that weekend as well, did she not?
She did.
Yes, she did. Actually, her and Callie Sunday did another drive-through during the day just to make sure all the trash was picked up and everything was taken care of. Everyone really was hands on deck. Everyone helped pick up trash.
It's a good deal. We haven't heard anything negative. I mean, we did run into a little bit of issue about the street closure. Marshall's Furniture was not very happy but it was the street department's call.
And it was more of a safety issue as well.
Of people getting stuck in between the streets, so he decided to cut it off at the very edge of front of Marshall's. He called the police department and said that they weren't allowing nobody to park in front of his building. Myself and my husband, we went ahead and moved the cones up to the right, to begin at the front of his building, so that wouldn't obstruct his business. We took care of it. So we accommodated everybody. No issues whatsoever. We had a lot of that we should do positive comments. We should continue to do it. They gave insight on what we should add to it, what we should do different. But overall, it was a great event.
Do y'all know if we had some folks from out of town come in for this?
I don't know.
I have to say they do. I had some family from San Angelo that were in town, and I sent them.
James had some friends from Roswell that stayed here as well. There was a couple of folks that were from.
Melinda brought some family from Austin too.
Okay.
So
We actually had the Ironman Football League had a game Saturday, and almost everyone from Slayton was asking what was going on downtown, so we did
Very
spread
good.
the word and
All right.
go downtown.
That's great stuff.
Very well attended.
it was
stuff.
packed, and I mean throughout the whole thing we had people. Not one vendor complained about having low food sales or anything. Everyone sold out or was like, "Oh my gosh, it's been steady all day," and we're like, "Great," because you know we did have a lot, but it wasn't an issue.
So it was packed for the Hilgueros?
Oh man, I have really good pictures. I will be giving them to James so James can show or email you guys. But we've got pictures throughout the whole day.
Live video feeds.
It was good.
Could you name the bands that were there? I know Justin Kemp band was there as well.
The first band that went up was Tex Westas.
Okay.
Second band was La Vimada Norteña.
Okay.
Third band was Justin Kemp band, and the final one was Los Jilgueros del Arroyo.
All right, very good.
So.
And we think it actually did helping that we alternated them like that, because then people were forced to stay
For the last bit.
Yeah, like
it was 50 degrees.
Know, it was cold, and they were out there ready to go, and they were swirling and everything. So hopefully.
So let me ask you this: Are we doing it again next year?
We've talked about this morning. We had several arguments about it.
You guys are arguing?
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. I think
it was a lot of work.
You know, coming in on a full day, it was more than 12 hours of us being out there.
7 a.m. till 2:30 a.m.
So it was
a long day.
And it was expensive. You know,
Very
events
expensive.
like these don't come cheap. Especially, I mean, we're both technically nonprofit, so like. The community had to come out and help out in terms of money, but I think we are going to do it again.
We're going to do it again. We're just going to think about moving it up 2 weeks when it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
So that's what we discussed. The event was fully paid by sponsors. We broke even. It was a good deal.
Good. Any questions from the rest of the commission?
It's a good thing you girls are young.
Well, we felt it the next day.
We did.
But we want to thank you for your work, seriously.
Thank
We appreciate that as a community. I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
One final comment. I hope this shows that we can do a good, safe event on Main Street. You know, smoking on the plazas coming up. You know, it seems like it's a year away, but it's really just like 5 to 6 months away, and we'd love to be able to host it out on Main Street. I think overall it really did bring more life to the event itself. So just a little, you know.
I was pleasantly
seeds back
surprised.
there.
I really was. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Commissioners, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Okay, that's all I have. Commissioner, you here?
I'm good to go. Thank you.
All right. Chief.
Nothing to report, sir.
Okay. Tell us about the incident involving the police officer and the discharge of the weapon.
Yeah,
Can you give us an update
there's
on
not
that?
much I can release on that. The state police is still investigating it. They did give him the 72 hours that they usually give somebody to decompress. They did finally interview him the latter part of this morning.
Okay.
So as far as the update, there's really nothing else that I could update on.
Okay. All right, but everybody is fine?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. I'm glad to hear that. Any questions from the commission? All right, thank you, Chief. Chief Lizardo, anything?
The only thing I'd like to say is the Halloween on the plaza this weekend. We have the haunted house coming up, so that'll be from 7 to 11 at the old fire station. So hopefully it'll be a good scare this year.
When is it? This weekend?
This Saturday.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. All right, very good. All right, thank you. Legal counsel, anything to report to us?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you for sitting in today.
Sir.
Patrick tied up today, is that what it is?
He is in Santa Fe.
Oh, okay. All right. So we sent him up there and we got Jocelyn down here.
Right.
All right. Okay. Very good. All right.
He'll be back unless they throw him in jail or something.
Do you know something we don't know? All right, very good. Okay, we'll go ahead and go into public comment. Anybody wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. If you'll just step up, identify yourself, and keep your comments to about 3 minutes, we'd appreciate you. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, I dropped some cards there on your desk, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I don't get over here all that often. Jocelyn says she was from Rio Rancho, and that's where my office is at, so I come down to this corner of the state quite often, but not many times when the commission's meeting. So I was glad I was able to put this in my itinerary this time. But I did want to introduce myself. I'm Dan Darnell. I'm the public sector manager for the state of New Mexico, and it's kind of interesting. I deal with all kinds of communities all across the state, and I see all the different festivals and stuff they had. And I just made a note here: the mechanical bull and the beer actually worked together, and that's so kudos, guys. That's amazing. But I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I spent 30 years in law enforcement, retired from Farmington PD, and afterwards I served 3 terms on the Farmington City Council. The last 2 terms was as mayor pro tem, so I know a little bit from your side what you guys deal with, and so I try to take that into account when I go into negotiations and when we're working with staff like Gary and James. So anyway, I just want you to know that I do have your ear and your back, and if there's anything that you guys need or have questions about or whatever, I'm not directly in charge of operations. That's Jarrett Hall in this particular area, but I have a seat at that table. Okay, and so Jared and I work very well together to rectify various various local complaints and those kinds of things. But yeah, no, I just wanted to pop in real quick and take the opportunity to introduce myself. So that's about it, and it's less than 3 minutes. So there you go.
You're getting close. Mr. Darnell, thank you. I'm also retired law enforcement, so I appreciate you.
I knew that. I heard that.
Yeah, appreciate you. Just a quick question, a couple of questions. Any issues that you know of that pertain to waste management and the city of Lovington specifically that you are aware of?
Well, actually, we've been working our way through. There's been some turnover in staff and those kinds of things, and they didn't always get the memo in terms of, how to funnel complaints and requests and those kinds of things. But and I really appreciate Mr. Chapman. He has been absolutely super in working our way through this, and I hope he feels that we were very responsive as well. And I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but he can certainly talk for himself. But there are some issues that I think are mainly communications. There's certainly not an operational issue. Once our operation guys get the message, they're on it. So, and I feel comfortable with that. Jarrett was off today, or he would be here as well to answer any operational questions specifically. But Gary, are we working our way through things?
Yeah, I would just reinforce part of what Dan has shared. Because of some turnover at Waste Management, we had some lack of communication going on with them. So when we had some customers complaining about things, we're saying, well, we sent the memo to Waste Management. However, we've worked those kinks out, and I'm definitely working with Dan and Jarrett directly. We have a definite defined procedure on what we need to do anytime customer complaint occurs and how to deal with that. And we also have a follow-up process too, where if on a daily basis anything that comes up, we record this, and then no less than once a week, daily, if we feel like we need to, we send this report to Waste Management, and they do their best to make quick responses on all those. I've been really thankful that all it took was just talking to the right people, and that, you know, those things like what Dan mentioned, just because one person quit and we didn't know about it, well, now we know. And we now have more centralized communication tool as well. It's really going well. I like it.
Mr. Darnell, is it your driver turnover that we're talking about here? And are they quitting to go into the oil field since it probably pays more than?
No, not yet.
Okay.
God bless you guys over here, because we certainly appreciate the you know, the power that you wield in the state, and sometimes you don't get a lot of kudos for that, but we appreciate that. No, we're not losing folks to the oil patch at this point. I think the turnover that we're talking about, we've had route manager turnover that was in the direct loop. Well, they should never have been in the direct loop, and so when we found out about that, we said, wait a minute, we have a public sector solutions team that is the point. You know, everything should go through them. And so once we got that straightened out, I think most of the issues have been resolved and taken care of. I will tell you one other thing, Mr. Mayor, if I may add. Festivals like the one that you just had, and several that they had talked about maybe in the future, those are things that I think that we can partner on and help. You know, we've got, you know, disposable containers like they're cardboard boxes with liners that, you know, that we can use. Some of the stuff, maybe even recycling, or maybe take it over to the Hobbs Recycling Center. I mean, you know, we can just do all kinds of things to help out in those. And when we were talking about staying there till 2:30 in the morning and picking up trash and then coming back the next day making sure everything's cleaned up, well, some of that stuff I think we can help with. So anyway, just keep us in mind as you guys go through your events, and we'll partner as we can.
Okay, very good.
Great.
Is there a charge for that? For doing extra
no, we
boxes and stuff?
We'll work it out. Yeah, right. We work it out. Typically, you know, we could put that on our charitable giving and just do in-kind service. And in-kind is easy. Okay, if you're asking for a $1 donation, then I have to jump through hoops. But that's what I do, is jump through hoops. So it's okay. But in-kind services, we can provide those, you know, at a local hauling site level. So
thank you for that,
yeah.
Mr.
Yeah, you bet. Let us know how we can help.
Behind you.
Ms. Salcido?
Sorry. Is it, we've had a couple of issues in the past because the application process, we were sent to Arizona in terms of like even just poly carts.
Just call me.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I do, jump through hoops.
Thank you.
So, be more than happy to help you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the commission?
No.
Mr. Darnell, thank you so much for stopping by. You're welcome here anytime. All right, very good. Anybody else wish to address the commission at this time? All right. Seeing as there are none, we'll go ahead. We do have a proclamation, and it concerns Veterans Appreciation Week. And I think we've designated Commissioner Trujillo as the veteran, and I'll read this proclamation and I'll present it to him, and we'll go over to the podium to do this, if we may. You'll have to stand at attention.
Just don't hug me.
This is Proclamation 2017-04, Veterans Appreciation Week. And if you allow me, I'll read this. Whereas the freedoms we enjoy as Americans have been purchased and maintained at a high price throughout our history, and whereas since the establishment of the original 13 states, Americans have been willing to fight and die to preserve their individual rights guaranteed in the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And whereas we owe a great debt to those who have served in defense of this nation. And whereas throughout the generations, their sacrifices have preserved our unique form of government dedicated to human rights and respect for the individual. And whereas in honor of these dedicated men and women, we pledge our continued defense of our nation so that their sacrifice will stand before the entire world as a tribute to the spirit and determination of a people dedicated to the principles of freedom and democracy. Now, therefore, I, Paul Campos, Mayor of the City of Lovington, New Mexico, on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim November the 5th through November 11th as Veterans Appreciation Week. And we urge all citizens to honor our veterans and rededicate themselves to the preservation of our liberties under the Constitution. Thank you for your service. Do we have any other veterans present today? Yes? Thank you, sir, for your service and dedication as well. Appreciate you, man. Okay, going on. We'll go into non-action items. Discussion of Police Department uniform policy updates. Chief?
Yes, sir. Mayor and Commissioner, this one, this policy and procedure was, we just reviewed it as well as legal. Basically, the only changes in this policy has to do with our tattoo policy in itself. There is different case laws out there now that are kind of directing to where we need to go. Our current policy on tattoo is absolutely no visible tattoos. They all have to be covered. However, they're leaning in the directions that we can no longer discriminate against those tattoos, as long as they're not being inappropriate or anything like that, or that are going to cause rift between different groups. The way that they're going is to allowing them to be visible where we're following within the guidelines, and that is the only change that we put in this policy.
I just had a quick question, Chief, on under Section E, which is body art piercings. Subsection 2, it reads, employees will not be subject to disciplinary action for any tattoo existing prior to the adoption of this policy. So let me ask you, if they do have a tattoo and it is considered offensive for unprofessional or disrespectful in nature, how do we address that?
It still falls under the, if they do have those tattoos, they still have to follow the policy as far as covering them up. All the other tattoos can still be visible. It's just those in itself that are against the policy have to be covered.
Okay. So we are addressing them by making them, or they're being forced to cover those up.
That's correct.
If they're considered offensive, disrespectful in nature,
correct,
and so forth. Okay. All right. Very good. Any other questions about the commission?
But also, so this policy means they can still go out and get a tattoo that it's offensive, and as long as they're covered up, they're good to go. Is that what you're saying also?
Correct. We're not restricting their rights to do what they want.
Okay. Thank you.
So, worst case scenario, you have an officer who's got tattoos on his arm. It's the summer. They have short sleeves. So we have a citizen complains, and they feel like they saw something that was offensive. Who makes that determination whether it's offensive or not?
Chief of Police.
Okay. All right. And do you have guidelines for that, or is it just
It's on a case by case.
Okay. All right. Very good. And I know other departments that are allowing this as well, so that's what you're basing your policy on, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. This is nationwide trend, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. All right. Very good. Any questions about the commission?
No.
And this is just a review. It'll be brought up later on
for approval. Right.
Yes, sir.
So you said it's going to be brought up later, so who makes the determination if it passes or not? Are we the ones that do it? Okay.
It's just a discussion item right now, Commissioner. It's a non-action item. All right. Any other questions? All right. Very good. We'll go into action items. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion we consider approval of ordinance number 555, creation of Title II, Division 6, Administration and Personnel, Chapter 2.94 of Conduct of the Lovington Municipal Code.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? We don't have a second, motion dies. All right, go on to the next action item.
I make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-120, approval of street closure block party permit for Halloween on the Plaza, October 28, 2017.
I'll second that.
We have a second, Chief.
I'm trying to get there as quick as I can on this thing. The resolution is to authorize closure of a portion of Central Avenue and Love Street for Halloween on the Plaza in order for the accommodation and construction downtown area. The layout will be changed for this year. Central will be closed from Main Street to Love, and Love Street will be closed between Avenue A and Central. In the initial request, they requested that Love Street be closed from Central at the alleyway all the way to Central and Avenue A, but staff recommended they needed a block just basically for pedestrian safety.
All right, very good. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
No, I'm just glad to see Chief still wearing his mask from last year. I guess he saved money.
Prince Charming, right, Chief? No.
Depends on who you're talking about. Which chief?
All right, any other discussion about the commission? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Do we have another motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Do we want to do to our redevelopment area? What are we going to?
The Metropolitan
Metropolitan area.
Redevelopment area.
Okay, all right, very good.
It's part of the Main Street Master Plan Downtown Update as well.
Okay.
It's a joint thing. We've been working with James and Wyatt as well to do that. And it's just to increase our district size to include partial of the Veterans Memorial, and then also it helps when LEDA needs funding or like approval funding. They have to be a certain distance from like the downtown and stuff like that. So those kind of things will go into the professional service.
Thank you, Ms. Salcido. This does not require matching funding from the city, correct?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, any other discussion by the commission? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Do we have another motion?
Make that motion, consider resolution 2017-122, approval to apply for SER TPO funding for Commercial Street Phase 2.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Sanchez. Would that be you, Chief?
That's me again.
All right.
The resolution will authorize and support the city's application and construction funds for the second phase of North Commercial Reconstruction Project. The project is currently under planning and design with the partnership with the county. Phase 2 will involve the reconstruction of the North Commercial between Van Buren and US 82 with the Plains Highway. This project is listed as a priority 1 on the city's ICIP. Additional funding is being requested through the capital outlay appropriation requests.
All right, very good. Thank you. Any questions about the commission? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Do we have another motion?
I'd like to make that motion to consider resolution 2017-123.
This one we deleted.
Sorry about that.
So you'll recant your motion and make another motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Recant
Very
that
good.
motion, make another motion.
Okay.
I'd like to consider accounts payable. I don't know if it's 27.
Second that.
We have a second. Mr. Gary, Mr. Chapman.
If I may, your mayor and commission, the single largest payment is this $355,563 payment, which is an annual loan payment on our water loan that we received back in 2007, I believe is when it started. And beyond that, if you don't have any questions, I'm available for some answers.
How long is that note for?
We still have, gosh, I took those notes out. The original note I want to say was 20 years.
20-year note.
Let me double check. I believe I brought some information on that. I didn't put down how many years they were for.
So we got 7 out of the way, so we got
Yeah.
13. No, I've just seen that. So how do you feel, Wyatt, on the longevity of our water department area, off that on probably having resurface or grant funding.
For everything that was done back in 2008 to 2007, 2008, as far as the water reconstruction and the plant, everything is holding. The plant was built. Right now we're at a 0.75 million gallons a day, and the plant, I believe, can hold up to 2.5 to 3 million gallons a day capability. And as far as the water, we did have our tanks going through. Back then they were dived, recoated, painted, our boosters rehabbed and everything. So we do currently, with the renovation that we did back in 2007 to 2008, every year we do have somebody come in and inspect our water tanks just to make sure they are going to last that long time. But everything is, for the money that we put out there back in 10 years ago, everything is handing up to.
That's great.
And if I may, I had the debt service list, so we only have 13 more payments to make on this loan.
We make it on a yearly basis, that would?
Yeah, annually.
Okay, annual. Okay, good.
Gary,
I'm sorry. That ain't bad. I kept thinking we were doing that monthly for a little bit. I was like, man, that's steep. That's good. Thank you.
Gary, let me bring your attention to the Tyler Technologies entry for $46,739.63. Tell me that's not a recurring charge for an update that we're facing.
This payment is not for an update with Tyler Encode. Okay. This is part of the annual service contract that we have. There's 3 components in that. One of them has to do with the financial software itself, and then there are 2 other little addendums on that. One of them specific to financial software. They call it TCM. It's this how to scan documents and stuff like that. Those are the main 2 largest components in that cost. And I can't remember what the third one is, but it's only like $1,800 or $2,000 a year. And I believe it had to do with our access for employees later when we get the payroll and the time entry stuff.
How are we doing with Encode?
Well, it's, in a very blunt term, I can say that I'm getting a lot more response to anything that I'm requesting from them, and them making a better effort to follow through and complete things. The challenges that I'm faced with, though, are short deadlines. At the same time, we're working with the audit, and it's interesting that, for example, the staff that are here right now, they're like, "Well, didn't they understand you had your audit going on and should have scheduled it another time?" And I was just blunt with them. I said, at the time that it was decided, no, I was given no choices. It's like this or not, But that being the case, what I'm really saying is this: I feel that there is a lot of effort on the part of the staff to really jump some hoops and make the extra effort to help us out.
It's funny, as Mr. Darnell made that same analogy, of jumping through hoops, and he spoke about talking to the right people. Are we talking to the right people now, you think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I went as high as I could go.
Okay.
I want to say his name's Chuck. I want to say Chuck Berry, but that's not it. Anyway, yeah, Chuck Berry gets it going right. Yeah.
You need to explain that to the younger folks in the audience. Everyone's like, what are you talking about?
An excellent voice.
Okay, well, and they're taking care of our needs?
Yes, to the point to where things, if I felt that they were supposed to provide a service, and I can use this, they call it TCM, but I don't remember the exact definition of that acronym, but it just boils down to us being able to, with all our functions, utility billing is a good example of this. We have a customer who comes in with a rental agreement. We will be able to scan the rental agreement and attach it to that customer's file, and so we'll have quick access to that type of information all the time. That's an extra cost item that they're not charging us for.
All right, very good.
Because that's what I understood we were getting from the beginning. But Chuck Berry said, "Oh, well, I'm not going to have them charge you for that."
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Any other questions regarding accounts payable by the commission?
Yeah, I got one. It's not much, but you might laugh at this, but it's Farmer Brothers
coffee?
Mhm.
444 Oak, is that for City Hall only, or for the motor vehicle department, or for all the city staff, or?
That includes all the accounts with the
Even
city.
Police department, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because I only drink half a cup twice a month here.
No, it includes all.
You get half a cup? I don't get anything.
I drink 4 cups, I got 2 for me, so I contribute that. I think that's equipment rental and all that other stuff, that's just not coffee alone, it's equipment rental as well.
All right, very good. Anything else? All right. All in favor of paying accounts payable, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Anybody else, anything else we need to bring up or talk about? Yes, Mr.
I'd
White.
just like to follow up with this Thursday night. We're gonna have Insidious PG-13 for the adults, and we're gonna start it at 6:45. So, like Mr. Bernard Butcher said, please bring out your chairs and blankets and come enjoy the movie with us.
Very good. Thank you for that, Wyatt. Anybody else?
We will be spraying.
Yes.
Mosquitoes, I don't know, there ain't no blood.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Do we have a second?